Wrapped around a tree. Our elders don't teach us in the classroom way, with first lesson, second lesson, third lesson. There's never a textbook with answers in the back. Many times they don't even explain themselves, so you have to figure a lot out yourself. We don't harass them with all kinds of questions. Why? Tell me. We just accept that there's a purpose in what they do and say. A bit of the respect we have for our elders is never questioning them when they tell us something. At the end of my first year of training, Dave Lewis again told me to fast for 3 days and then come to see him on the 4th day of my fast. When I went to see him, it was early morning, and he took me on the hill about a mile from his house. He had already picked out a tree and said, "Wrap your legs around this tree, put your arms around it. You sit there like that, and I'll be back." Then he left. No more instructions than that. I wanted to say, "Why? What time will you be back? What am I supposed to think about? What am I supposed to look for? What if I have to go to the bushes for something?" All of these things went through my mind, but I didn't voice them, and he didn't tell me anything. He just left me there. I had no idea when he would be back. Maybe night time, maybe the next day. I wondered if he'd even be able to find me again. Still, I had to sit there wrapped around that tree. And the very first thing that came to me was that people would ask, "Did the tree talk to you?" And I'd say, "No, it barked." So taking up these ways is not easy. I just sat there, wrapped around that tree, and began to think all kinds of things. Why should a grown man like me be sitting wrapped around a tree like this? I began to think of the many people I knew. What if they saw me wrapped around this tree? I had just graduated from high school, where I was voted the most promising student. What if they saw me now? This one we thought would go a long ways up the ladder, and look at him now, wrapped around a tree. Freud made a marvellous statement I'll always remember. A group of psychiatrists were trying to figure out the symbolism in some behaviour, and were analysing it from every angle. Freud, who was a cigar smoker, just kept smoking away and said, "Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar." Sometimes we overcomplicate things. They don't have to imply this or imply that. And as I began to think of that, I understood what Dave was trying to teach me without telling me. He was teaching me to work through my own pride, my own ego, my own self-importance. I began to see that, when it comes right down to it, we are nothing until that nothing becomes so dedicated that it is like a vessel through which good things can move, an instrument for receiving knowledge and sharing it with others who might be in need. You might think you're macho this and macho that, but what is that flesh worth? Not so much. It's what's inside that flesh that counts. Okay, that's what he wants me to work through. I'll sit here as long as he wants me to. I'll surrender to it. After that acceptance, communication came. A tree cannot talk, but the Creator can communicate to us through any means. A bird, an animal, even a blade of grass. The type of communication that was coming to me came as thoughts and concepts, and I had no answers for the questions that I had. First came not really a question, but more of a statement about me. "So you think you know a lot of things." I couldn't say anything, I just sat there. Besides, it would look silly, me talking to a tree. Don't you know that the only thing that you can say is what you actually know, and what you have actually experienced? Other than that, it's hearsay. Immediately I thought about all those books in the library. Mathematics, physics, psychology, philosophy. Then books on sociology, anthropology, human behaviour in the various cultures in our modern society. A whole flood of ideas kept flowing through my mind, a whole library's worth of books. And the tree seemed to know my thoughts. Yeah, you've read a lot of books, but it's someone else's thoughts and experiences in those books. To you it's hearsay, because you haven't experienced it. You don't know it, you only know something about it. You can take a course in child development and think you're prepared for parenthood, but until you have a child of your own, what you've been taught doesn't mean a thing to you. So it comes back to our old teaching. Never claim to know anything until you have experienced it yourself. This doesn't mean you quit going to school and reading. Take all kinds of courses and read whatever you want to stimulate your potential. But you can't really say you know it when it's someone else's experiences that you're studying. Go out and do it yourself, and then you can say you know it. So that's what he had wanted me to learn wrapped around that tree. Someone always given to trying to explain things might want to analyse the whole process, but I just left it at the way it was, because to me it was meaningful to experience that lesson. I didn't catch it at first, but the lesson was right there. I had to toss my exaggerated self-importance out of the window. I had to work through my pride to become just a human being. At sundown, Dave finally came back. Okay, you can let go now. I want you to learn to be like that tree. If that tree could only talk, it would tell you many things. When you're learning something, don't be yacked away. Learn to listen. Listen to the wind. If you're walking along and a convoy of birds suddenly flies up in the air, stop. Something disturbed them. What was that something? Another animal? Another human being? So the rest of that evening and way into the night he talked to me about the importance of learning to observe. When we perceive any situation, whether it's an activity, a sport, a fight, or anything else, it's important to be able to observe without getting emotionally involved. When you see someone in great pain, your emotions may want to jump in so that you can both have a good cry together. Someone who cries with them may help a little, but very little. You can be of greater help if you are strong enough to lift that person's spirits up and not allow your emotions to get in the way. It's called empathy. You put your mind in that person's situation, but only your mind, while you stand in a safe place and try to bring that person to the same point of safety you are at. There are many, many situations where you could allow your emotions to take over, but you would not be of much help if you did. You can go through the children's ward in a hospital, where some children are all bandaged up, some might be in pain, and they will look to you with eyes full of hope that say, "Can you help me?" You look down feeling helpless, and even then you cannot allow your emotions to take over. You can be of more use to that child by just observing what he really seems to need and tenderly trying to give him courage and allay some of the fears and pain the child is feeling. By standing aside, you can lend help, strength, and hope. Contact the one you go to with your own problems and ask if he might intervene at this time. If at all possible, touch this child with your healing hands, and if it's within your will, please let this child be free from pain and begin to smile and enjoy life. You yourself might want to cry when you see the situation, but to be of help you must become passive. To learn how to observe without becoming overwhelmed with emotions, you can do deep breathing. Visualize that you are breathing in power from on high to bring you strength. You're not throwing your emotions out, you're not repressing them, you're still there, but you want to be strong enough to do some good for yourself as well as for others. After you breathe in strength, exhale the desire to go to pieces and cry. It's not going to make you cold or insensitive. It's going to help you learn to eventually control your own emotions so you can be of some help. One of the most difficult parts of my training was learning to observe without judgment and without getting emotionally involved. But that's the way you can better dispense of your own power in ways you can truly help people.